Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And big thanks for Shane Magnuson from Yakima Bay coming in this morning, talking about the buy three, get one free deal from Fisherman's Marine and Yakima Bay as to why you need to take advantage of that. Pretty much goes without saying, get the gear when it's available so that you don't have to call Ryan and give him a hard time when it's not there. Trust me, this is what happens. Okay, so before we went out there, we were talking about different baits, why you might want to change from herring to a shrimp bait or something similar. What about more bling, right? Adding more eyeball to whatever bait it is that you're fishing. If it's a herring, if it's a prawn, blades, spin and glows in front, those things all kind of work. Is there anything that you like in front of either one of those, either a prawn or a herring?
Absolutely. You know, we're obviously going to run some of the spinning fish when it gets dirty water. I mean,
sure.
You throw in more color, throw in more action. It's going to get those fish attention, just like we mentioned on the color of this. But,
sure.
You know, throwing some blades in front of your cut plug or a small hole herring, a Hildebrandt blade. I mentioned that fickle pickle color.
Yeah.
There's a fickle pickle Hildebrandt blade. It's on the front, it's fickle pickle and nickel on the back, and that one is a Springer getter. I mean, it's one of my favorites.
Sure.
But also doing that in front of a shrimp, running a prawn spinner. Most of you are familiar with running prawn spinners in the Willamette or bouncing them or
sure.
up in the gorge where I'm at Wind and Drano. Throw them behind a fish flash down here. We used to do that for years and get those fish's attention. Just a little more flash.
Yeah, now we've shown rigs like that before, but we're just going to give you a mental visual. In front, say you're running a cut plug herring green label like 99% of us run, or even again a red label hole or even a green label hole, right? I mean, it really falls down to what it is that you wish to do and what you're confident in. In front of that mooching rig, do you have a specific amount of beads that you like to run before your blade? Is there something that you like there? Because you know, most of those baits, when you rig it, it's the eye of that front hook that's exposed. So you don't have to have a lot, but what do you like to do in front of it?
You know, I run either a 5 or 6 millimeter bead, you know, something color match, usually a green or chartreuse bead, and 3 to 4, you know, just to give it a little bit of space. You need some water to get around that blade so it'll still turn your cut plug. The cut plug or the whole herring isn't going to turn as well with the blade in front of it as it does without, but you're going to get action out of it, and it's going to create a different action to get those fish attention.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's one of the reasons why we tried it several years ago, is it would change the flop. It'd slow it down.
Absolutely. It gets and then it'll stop, and like it doesn't want to go, and then it starts going again.
It can make a difference. We talked a little bit before the show. We do this a lot when we can talk for hours. There are conditions where you're simply going to be going too fast. It could be because of the river flow itself, tide, wind. Right? If you run into situations where that actually happens, I mean, you mentioned it perfectly. We did an entire show about this in the past, running entire passes in reverse or boondogging, you know, all your rods out one side because that wind is ripping so much. That's a great way, at least in my own thought as just a regular fisherman, to slow that spin down, make it a little bit more presentable. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and realize the bait you're fishing. You know, a herring's really well known for fishing slow and getting those fish to bite and chew and engulf. Well, we've been talking for years now, the spinning fish, it's like speed.
Yeah.
If you're going to fish one of those, you want to go fast.
Right.
So you get in those situations where you're going to be fishing a little faster, the wind's pushing you, adjust your technique a little bit to accommodate that.
I love the idea of running a spinning fish in that case, because there will be times where if you're trying to get that herring to run right, I mean, obviously, not obviously, for some, you might not be aware, the water as it's friction along the bottom is slower than the water that's up on the surface. Doesn't matter what the depth is. If your gear is rubbing the bottom like it should be for spring Chinook, it's actually that little pocket there is a little bit slower. It's just friction. It slows that thing down. That's why those fish are where they are. And if you're just ripping through there too quickly, you know, you might not get bit. I say might, though. You've run into situations where you're flat out rolling and you're still getting bit with a spinning fish behind one of these things. There's a reason for that, because they can see it, they can feel it. That might just trip their trigger early.
Absolutely. Yep. To throw some speed behind one of those, and you're making them snap.
Right.
You're getting their attention.
And if those temperatures cooperate, the low to mid 40s, you're losing some excuses. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of all the excuses I can get, okay?
Go fishing.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. I made a lot of excuses last year. Okay, as you can see, he is a Edge pro staffer as well. I am not, by the way, but I've got my favorite 360 rod here. And I get this question constantly. This past week I came in, I had a really rough year last year for salmon overall. I'm changing all kinds of little things to try to make the difference. Get rid of old braided line, put new line on, you know, take some of the scent things away and this and that. When you're talking about these 360 rods, which you are very well informed on and been part of since the beginning, it's not just the 360 rod. You can use this for herring. It's actually extremely functional herring rod because of that tip design. Is there a particular version of the 360 Pro that you might tell everybody out there to really pay attention? If you're only going to buy one or two, which ones would it be? I guess would be the best question.
You know, I have two I look at. So if you like running a 10-6 foot rod, that 1064 360 Pro, it handles up to a 12-ounce lead really well if you're going to throw on a 360. But it still has that soft tip for running fish flashes and getting that soft herring bite chew. And,
sure.
You know, it's a great slow troll herring rod that can kind of do both.
Okay.
So it's one of my favorites, especially this time of year.
That's the 1064.
1064.
Okay. This one is the shorter version, 9.2. This is my transom rod, 'cause that's where I'm at all the time. I know that you fish these as well. Is it too short to still be able to give that bend for a herring bite, or would you say it's also still functional?
Absolutely not too short. That's my second rod. That rod is so versatile because it is still soft enough to do that, especially off the transom. But that rod will handle up to a 16-ounce lead.
Sure.
I mean, that is probably the most versatile one.
Gotcha.
If you're not looking for like a bow spread rod.
Gotcha. Which that extra length makes a difference to help get your gear out there. And when you do put your hands on one of these 360s, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you did, it seemed like, at the Sportsman Show. Hence the reason why I don't have an arsenal of them right now.
We sold them.
They're very, very usable. The bend in that rod is so far out there that it'll let that Chinook bite that herring with the fish flash and give it the room to let it turn, which is huge. First off, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
It's really good to see you. Good luck this year chasing springers, and stay out of the front of my boat, okay? I don't want to be following you. You see that white motor out in front of your sled? Just turn. Last question though, are you booked up solid?
I am.
You are?
But we have multiple guys we work with.
Yep.
Give me a call. I can find seats for you with guys that I trust and catch fish.
Shane, thanks again. We'll be back in just a minute, everyone. We got the deal of the week for you from Fisherman's Marine.